When we decided to pursue dental school, we tried to prepare as much as possible. Even with all that preparation, there are still things that we wish we had done differently. Today, I wanted to share some of the biggest mistakes that we feel like we've made so far. Our biggest mistake so far is not paying off more debt. I've touched on this a little bit before, and it's something that we are still working on paying off. I wish that we just would have been able to eliminate all debt before. We tried our best. We absolutely tried our best to eliminate the credit card debt and be as aggressive with that as we could, but unfortunately it just did not happen. I think looking back on it, what I wish we would have done would have been to really look at our budget and assess and evaluate what we could either eliminate or cut back on, and just been more aggressive with it. And I think why we didn't, if I'm honest, we weren't sure when this would actually happen. So we had talked about going to dental school for years, and it just always kind of seemed so far off in the distance. In the years before he applied and we got accepted and all of that, we just weren't really living and preparing for it like I wish we would have. So I wish we would have just operated under the assumption that yes, he's definitely getting in. This is how we need to live in the meantime to prepare for it. And we just really didn't. Understandably so, it's very hard to live on a very small income with a big family like we have and be trying to pay off debt. And that's why credit card debt is just awful to have in the first place, because it is not easy to get out of. And of course, then we did get to a point where once we found out that he was accepted, we also had to shift our focus not only to debt payoff, but things that we needed to save for. That was something huge too, that it was kind of like that almost had to pause or like slow down because we knew that we had to save some money too. So it just kind of got to a point where we had done all that we could do. Wish that we would have done better, wish that we would have thought about things differently, but it was what it was. And so we just kind of had to go in knowing, okay, this is something that we're going to work really hard to eliminate while we're in school. If I could give one piece of advice, it would absolutely be pay off as much as you can before school starts. If you get to a point though, like us, where you've done all that you can do and you're still going to be carrying some of it with you to school, definitely go with a plan in place to get it taken care of as soon as possible. So do all that you can, but have a backup plan in case it's not eliminated by the time you start. Mistake number 2, I would say, is underestimating the adjustment period. So this is something that I am sharing with you so that you can have kind of like a big sister or somebody giving you the help or advice that I wish somebody would have given me. I also just did not see it going the way that it did. And I think just the combination of moving to a new city and new community and the community of other dental families and the like weirdness of that, but also it was cool. And then of course my like imposter syndrome and not realizing how different life would feel. And it was just a lot. And I don't know if there is any way that I could have prepared for it. I think where I misjudged was, since I thought he would be there more, I didn't think I would be like feeling all of those new feelings and like having that adjustment period while him also not being there to be able to like support me and feel like he was doing it with me. So I don't know what I could have done differently, other than I think just hear me when I say like expect an adjustment period. Hopefully you handle it better than I did, but it definitely is and was for me a huge adjustment. And I think number 3, flowing right from that one, is not fully being able to understand the mental load and how that would make me feel. Again, I don't think that you really can prepare for it unless somebody was able to explain it to me and convey it to me, like the seriousness of it. But I think it would have just really helped me if somebody would have given like a real honest, raw opinion on, okay, like it's going to be really hard to have everything in the house be on you, everything with the kids be on you, your spouse be gone all the time. And you're going to have decision fatigue because you're the one making all the decisions and executing everything and taking the kid. I mean, just everything. Like I said, I did not envision him being gone so much to where everything was on me the way that it was. And then how that would affect me. I really did not think I would handle it it as poorly as I did and how much it would affect my energy and my just everything. I did not expect that. And like I said, somebody else could handle it way better than me, night and day better than I did. But I think as long as you kind of are expecting just how hard the change is going to be, it could help. Or at least, if nothing else, I'm giving you guys the support of like, I know exactly how you feel if you are having a hard time with it, because it was just so incredibly hard. And I would say lastly with number 4 would be us not quite understanding fully how the student loans would work. If you've seen some of my older videos, I touched on and mentioned that I had this kind of warped sense of maybe we will get more to live on because we're a bigger family. And I kind of didn't understand how you would be expected to live on the same amount that they were saying a single student would get. And so I didn't realize fully that it was based off of the cost of attendance, not having anything to do with family size whatsoever. I don't know if I'm just the only one that would ever think that way, but I just could not wrap my head around it. And so I wish that earlier on that, and I don't know how or where that would have come from again, unless I just had stumbled upon that information, but I wish that I would have understood more that like, no, like there is a cap for everybody. Like there is a set amount and it does not matter who's coming with you. It doesn't matter how many people are in your family. I just wish that I would have known and understood that sooner. That way I could have just not even had that in my brain to like feel disappointed about. And I think just simply too, like it would have been nice to have simple budgeting advice, like somebody saying, hey, like when you do get it, like go ahead and like pay all of these things first. And we were lucky in the fact that we were able to get a little bit of that info from my sister and brother-in-law with him doing the medical school side, but the numbers are so different and just everything is a little bit tweaked and a little bit different. So it's like, I still didn't feel like I was getting exactly the answers that I was looking for. Hence, that's why I'm trying to share everything with you guys. And so never hesitate to ask questions. Like I said, I know that things are going to look different per school, per program, whatever, but feel free to ask. And if you don't want to ask me, then ask somebody. Call the school, ask the questions. Don't be afraid to try to get and find out the information that you are looking for, because I know it's hard to find, but it is out there. You just have to keep asking until you find it, basically. So the biggest things that we have learned from these mistakes, because I will say we have learned a thing or two. The first thing being, I think we've learned to adapt quickly. So being thrown into a situation like this where you don't feel like you have all of the answers and you are just trying to figure it out blindly, we have learned to adapt fairly quickly. Quicker, but not quicker than I hoped we would. I definitely wish it would not have been as hard the first semester, but I'm at least glad that things got significantly better from the first to the second, because we did learn and adapt and figure out our groove as quick as we possibly could. Also, communicating feelings immediately. I feel like my husband and I have always had really pretty good communication. I think this has tested us to even try to have further better communication, because it really has tested us with, okay, yes, you can communicate well, but how about under pressure and time constraint and all the other things and emotions that we've been going through this process? Is how are you going to communicate in those circumstances? And I think it just is so important to gently and kindly, of course, but communicate exactly how you are feeling, because there's not time for sugarcoating things and, oh, I think this, or like, get straight to the point, get to it, get it out there, get the thoughts and feelings out that you have in here, because then you can just use the little bit of time that you do have to try to fix it and better understand each other. So I think it's really helped strengthen our communication in high, intense pressure situations. Another thing that we have gotten better at, I would say, is being very intentional with finances. So we are having to pay attention to money more than ever, budget more than ever, be as frugal as we possibly can be. And that is simply because there is a limited income. If you saw my monthly budget video, I talked about how we're using our tax return to kind of act as a buffer until the semester's over, just to make sure that we do have enough for our bills, because there's not just this ability to go and work overtime or make extra money here or make extra money there. It's very much, this is our set amount that we're living off of. We have a guaranteed $48,000 for the year. But when you look at that monthly, like, it's just not a ton for our family size. And so we really have to be intentional. And if we get extra money from a tax return or something like that, like almost holding on to it and hoarding it until we know that we are in the clear, until we've made it through that next semester without having to grab into anything else. So definitely have learned how to be very intentional and frugal with money. And then lastly, I would say the biggest thing that we have learned, just really focusing on what our long-term goals are. That's something that we've always talked about, that we've always had in the back of our mind. But I think really seeing just how close we are in the grand scheme of what our life has been to this point, I think really has just forced us to focus on that, lean on that for the long-term goals, but also for short-term goals as well. You know, like, okay, after we're done with first year, where do we want to be? After we're done with second year, where do we want to be? You know, where do we want to be, like, financially, and goals that we've hit, or just what are we looking forward to? And having those conversations a lot, like, oh, you know, what's going to be really exciting about second year or third year or fourth, and just focusing on where we want to be, what that looks like, and how we can get there. I think all in all, throughout this process, I have learned that some things you just truly cannot understand until you're going through them. So even me, like, explaining this to you guys and trying my absolute best to, like, convey the magnitude of it, you still just aren't going to fully grasp until you are going through it. That for me was why I wanted to create this channel and these videos for you guys, is to do my best to give you the advice and the support and any help that I can offer to future people that are going through this, because I want other people to feel more prepared and more supported than we did when we started. I hope that I am able to do that in some way, shape, or form. Even with the mistakes we've made, we still believe this path is worth it for our family. Dental school is a hard season for sure, but it's also a temporary one. If your family is preparing for dental school or another professional program, I'd love to hear your questions in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.